The spiritual realm is not a realm to be scared of. Neither is a place to shrink back from. The Father dwells in those realms. He has all access to those realms. Some of us have not been able to seek him out in different things. So in this podcast, we're going to get into real deep conversations around the spirit realm, around how spiritual laws are set into stone, how what's in the spiritual realm, what governs the spiritual realm, and how mankind, that's you, me, those who are made of flesh, right? How we have been designed to have dominion in that realm. So though it is the spiritual realm, we were created to be not only the rulers of earth, but in the spiritual realm, we were giving places, authorities, and positions, thrones, kingdoms, territories, and different things like that. So it's very, it's not uncommon for a person to be set in a place, and the Lord set them there purposely for what needs to be impacted, not only in the earth realm, but what needs to be impacted in the spiritual realm. So there's a dual role. Whenever there's one that the Father has placed or set into a position, there is a dual role in that position, and where he's set, there's an earthly assignment, and then there's a spiritual assignment. Because I believe in all our getting, that we get an understanding. Knowledge is understanding, right? Knowledge is wealth. Wealth comes from knowledge, the gaining of understanding about things. When you understand how things function, then you won't be deceived. You won't be misled. Things can't misguide you. Spirits can't misguide you. Spirits can't make you believe that they have more power than they actually do or don't. Some spirits have the ability to set off illusions, right? So we know many of you guys probably out there, you're afraid of cobras, you're afraid of snakes, right? They give off this dangerous feeling according to our natural mind. But a lot of times the snakes rattle, or the rising of the hood of the cobra, is not because the cobra is vicious. Usually the cobra is trying to set off an illusion to back the person away, because the cobra actually is more afraid of you than you probably are of them. And in their fear, they may strike. So we're going to get a lot into the understanding that a lot of times there's a false illusion that spirits run things, and there's nothing that we can do about it. Or spirits run things, or they giving you information, or they're feeding you something that's not known or special or new. Those deceptive spirits, on discerning spirits, we're going to talk real in depth about, so you can understand what is guiding the situation. So spirits may get involved in an earthly situation, and usually if they're involved in an earthly situation pertaining to your situation, if it's meant to slow you down, derail you, or try to stop or intervene in any case, it's because you bring fear to them in some capacity. They become afraid of what you're able to do. So this whole podcast has come about because of my interactions in my early stages in the Lord, right? As the Lord began to deal with me, as the Holy Spirit began to guide me in these places. Most of the information I got, I didn't read books. I did not get by way of sitting in front of people who taught me. Most of the information I got usually was spent in prayer and through sessions, dreams, visions, trances, things like that the Lord would take me through, or I would be in the midst of, and he had to give me understanding of how they worked, right? So my first experience I want to share with you guys was the process of coming to know that the Lord was the Lord. So my understanding was everything was fake and nothing was real. Just from a real talk, there was no such thing as going to church on a Sunday and believing the same thing that everybody was saying, because to me, most of their lifestyles seem like the lifestyles of a hypocrite, that he can't be real because how you act, right? So my spiritual experiences was like one, when you hear about the scriptures, people talking about the road to Damascus. Now, some would say, it's just fake make believe, it just comes up, whatever. It would be easy to say that, besides the fact that I didn't go to church, so there was no road to Damascus experience that I could have pulled from a book and create something in my own wicked imagination, right? My own thought process. I didn't know nothing about Paul. I didn't know nothing about being blinded. I didn't know nothing about going into the spirit realm. I didn't know nothing about seeing anything like that. From the text of the way it said, or the definition, I was atheist. I didn't believe that there was a God or anything was God, anything like that. Didn't believe in none of that stuff. So that was if I had to put myself in a category to bring this thing to light, I was what you call an atheist. There was no nothing, right? Um, so before my first real experience, did not know where it came from. I did not know who it was, right? Put no name on it. So in this experience of mine that I had, there was my oldest son, his mother. We were He was born, we were in two different places. I was off in Long Beach. She was off in Ontario somewhere, so in those regions like that. Um, I had a dream. Well, actually, I had a trance, because it's not a dream. So I was in a trance, and in the trance, I was in the house that she was living in. And I heard the conversation that she was having with her father. But the conversation actually wasn't happening yet. And as I picked up on the conversation, um, I thought I was just tripping. I'm like, man, I'm tripping. This is crazy. This ain't true. So as it went on, their conversation began to pick up. So I was hearing the conversation before the conversation was starting. And while the conversation was starting, I pretty much, what you'll call, I had a glimpse, like a fast forwarded pre um a pre-recording, I guess you would call it. It's like if you have something pre-recorded, but you can listen to it before everybody else, like a sneak preview. So I had a sneak preview of the conversation that was going to be had. When I woke up out of the conversation, um, the, my oldest son, his mother called me, like maybe 2 minutes afterwards, and everything that I heard in my dream, she told me that they were talking about, I guess, like a minute afterwards. Um, this is still me. There was no, hey, don't know, no, ain't no such thing, no Jesus, ain't no such thing as no God. Um, these things don't exist to me. I'm pretty much, I'm already dead. My life is just replaying itself. Yeah, I'm not even here. So those was my thought process in my mind frame. So to me, there was nothing to believe in, because death was already there. I was just waiting to the day that I stopped reliving the recording of my life that had already passed. So when she told me that, it shook me, like, because I started telling her what I heard, and I pretty much finished up the whole conversation that she had with her dad, and she was like, how the heck you know that? And in my mind, I was like, I don't know what you talk about. I don't know what I know. I don't know what I don't know. I just this is what I just this was just in my ears. And I thought maybe she had called me, was on the phone with me. And then I had to realize when I snapped out of that thought process, the phone just rang. I could not have had been on the phone and heard them, and it just somehow crept into my dream or somehow crept into my trance, and it somehow creep into my thought process, and I heard something that was actually going on because I was on the telephone. So that was like my first experience. After that moment, my life really started to change. Like when I'm talking about supernatural change, um, if I could write a movie, it probably would be a crazy movie on how the next week and a half to 2 weeks of my life drastically changed. There was so much I saw around me that I never knew was around me. I'm talking about peering into things um, that I didn't even know was there in the middle of the broad daylight, where things are just regular, things changing from being regular to being like something off a Disney movie or something off of a dramatic scene, like a war scene or something like that, like different things like that. And to really begin to deal with the high place of my mind. It really began to deal with the high place of my mind. And that uh that experience in itself was just it was man, it was so different. My next episode, I'm gonna go a little bit deeper into what had happened after my experience with that conversation, the different things that led up right after that to me understanding um, that there was a Lord, that there is a Lord, and that Jesus is who he said is, not flesh. Okay. We're not talking about Jesus the white man, because Jesus the white man never existed. We're not talking about Jesus the black man, because Jesus wasn't a black man. We talk about Jesus who he is in his purest form. Okay. We're not talking about that which came into the flesh. Uh, we're talking about, well, he did come into the flesh, but we're talking about in its purest form, which is the realm of the spirit. And when we understand who he is as far as the spirit, then a lot of us will stop the war in trying to create him to be um, culturally relevant. He's not culturally relevant. He's not into the cultural war. He's not into that because he's a spirit. His objective is to speak to all mankind so that all mankind may understand who he is, and then all mankind may gravitate to um, his love, and his love is a spiritual law. There's spiritual principles behind his love, and if we all had these spiritual principles, the world wouldn't be in such the chaos that it is today. So we're gonna dive into that on the next episode. I'm gonna talk a little bit more about leading up to my experience, and from there how things kind of took off.